Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Fun and Games Podcast. I'm Jeff Moonen.
And I'm Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
And you're listening to episode 80. And this episode, we're joined by Katey from Harmonix. Katey, it's great to have you on the show.
It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
I am so excited to have Katey on. We were introduced through the awesome Manny Perez, who's a previous guest of the show. And when I spoke to Manny a couple of weeks before I met Katey, I was wearing a Fuser hat, and Manny's like, "Oh, do you like Harmonix?" And I went, "Yes." He's like, "Oh, let me introduce you to the coolest person I know," and I'm quoting him here.
That's cute.
So I was really excited because we've been trying to get more folks in community management and development and all sorts of folks from the gaming industry to come chat on the show. When I found out that you worked for Harmonix, which is a studio I really love, I was really excited to have you on. So to get started, why don't you talk a little bit about being a community manager for Harmonix and exactly kind of what you do over at Harmonix?
Sure. So I am the community manager on Rock Band, Audica, and Dance Central. So I have a pretty full plate of a lot of live games, but it's super rewarding because all three of those games have very distinct and awesome communities. So pretty much like my day-to-day varies, but I do a lot of copywriting. So like any social media that you see pushed out on the Harmonix, Dance Central, or Rock Band social channels are all from me, for the most part at least. And I also do the blog writing for the Rock Band blogs as DLC comes out every Tuesday. Or DLC comes out on Thursdays, but it's announced on Tuesdays. On top of that, I'm in the Discord and on Reddit and just talking to the community, making sure everything's all good, cultivating those relationships, all that kind of stuff.
That's awesome. Yeah, very cool.
Fantastic, yeah.
And yeah, I was looking up on Harmonix. You do the DLC breakdowns, which is really cool. Back when the original Rock Band was out and the subsequent sequels on last gen, I downloaded so much music, an insane amount. And I don't recall there being a kind of like blog, weekly report on the DLC that was coming out. Do you know why Harmonix made that shift and decided to do blog rolls and weekly updates? Is it a way to get more engagement and get more people knowing what the DLC is, downloading it, interacting?
I mean, inherently, writing about the DLC and posting it to our site and stuff just drives more traffic to our site, and also will give more insight onto, okay, this song is going to be awesome in Rock Band for X, Y, and Z reason. So the reason why I do it is I want players to know that the songs that are coming out, even if they may not know the band or if they may not just normally listen to the band or like them, they might have fun with this song in the game. I don't know why the shift happened. I've only really been at Harmonix for about a year, a little over a year actually, and when Rock Band 4 came out, I'm sure that the marketing plan had shifted in a way where we wanted to get in touch with more people at regular intervals.
That makes sense. Well, and especially because, if I'm not mistaken, Rock Band has been able to historically carry over the tracks that people have bought from previous games or previous generations over to the current. It's I'm correct in thinking that, right?
There have been export keys that have been, given or sold to players. However, they do have a shelf life. They do expire at certain times. But a lot of hardcore fans have a lot of the old songs in their library now because of that.
That's really cool. Yeah, and with that sort of carryover, I mean, that's one of the difficulties with a lot of rhythm games and a lot of music-based titles and licensed music-based titles is that thing of why I'm going to have to buy this song so many times.
Right.
So getting to bring it over, that's definitely going to allow people to take a chance on a track, which is fantastic. So, yeah, that visibility is so great.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wanted to ask, actually, of the three games that you mentioned that you're working with, the one that I know the least about because it's one of the newer games and it's a bit different from the others is Audica, which is a rhythm-based shooting game that's in VR. So since I know Rock Band, has a legacy and most folks know about it, same with Dance Central. Could you talk a little bit about Audica, describe the game for listeners who might not be familiar with it?
Sure, yeah. Like you said, Audica is a VR rhythm shooter where you blast the beats to the beat of the music. There are like a bunch of different things you can do where like there are sustains where you have to hold the note for a little while, and like there are context clues within the way that the notes look, and like a quick tutorial in the beginning that tell you how to do them. There's melees too that kind of like sync up really nicely with like bass and drums. So I think we finally released the game out of early access in early November. And since then, we've released, I think, 4 DLC packs. And we have also released some free DLC. So a lot of the people that work at Harmonix are also musicians themselves. And they also have friends that are musicians. And we have like friends and family things going on where we sometimes will release tracks for free. And we have a couple of those that have come out and a couple of more that might be coming out soon.
Ooh, that's really cool. Yeah, I remember one of the coolest things about Rock Band when I played it back in the day was there was a band, I think they were called Anarchy Club, and I'm pretty sure they were members of the Harmonix crew. And I don't know if they're still there, but I remember like first through that band at least discovering that, oh, not only do these guys make guys, girls, non-binary folks, all the people who work at Harmonix make cool rhythm games, they also make music that go in the rhythm games. And I think that must be super key to creating these games, is having a musical background. It definitely probably doesn't hurt to like music a lot to work on and be around these games.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a big perk to working there, is just being around a lot of really artistic and awesome musicians.
Yeah, that sounds like a damn good environment. So when you try to engage with people and try to engage with the community here, these are games first, but because of how strong that musical DNA is, do you find it different to have to engage on a more musical level or on a more like, because, gaming's all about hype. So is it more get hype about the song or get hype about the game as far as reaching out and building community?
I guess it's a healthy balance of both, because we definitely want to bring the best songs that both match like the vibe of the game, but also would be exciting to our players, to the games. So like when I'm talking to the community, half the time I'm like, this song is wonderful and this is why it's going to be fun to play in the game, or we're just having discussions about music in general. People have very strong opinions about music, as you may guess.
Oh yeah.
But there's also a balance of talking about like what it's going to be like in the game, and gameplay mechanics as well. And
looking at the track list for Rock Band versus Audica, are there ever points where tracks are requested or things from within Harmonix that are, we should use this track, but it's like, no, we can't use it for this game, it has to be for this game? Is there a strong divide in where tracks go?
Well, we try to diversify our like song libraries for pretty much every game. Obviously, there are some like songs that would be better suited for Rock Band than for Audica. In Audica, we do have a pretty healthy balance. We have I think we have a prog song. We have like a couple rock songs in there too, and pop songs. There are definitely some things that are better suited for others, but when we do suggest songs to our like licensing team, I guess we all have kind of, internally at least, a good idea of where they would fit the best.
Very cool.
I'm curious, since you said you're at Harmonix for a little over a year. Were you obviously you had some familiarity if you applied for the job, but was there a strong passion for rhythm games before you joined the Rock Band team? Were you always a fan of rhythm games? I grew up playing like the Guitar Hero and Rock Band games. Nice. I remember, I think I still have like original Guitar Hero gear, so that would be like Harmonix stuff. And
I have Rock Band stuff from yesteryear as well. So I actually grew up playing those games with my dad. So it was really interesting. I honestly didn't even know that Harmonix was in Boston until I was looking for a games job. I was just really sick of working in just, a regular, like, marketing agency setting, like going to work every day, not liking what I do, and then coming home. So I was just like, I'm going to shoot my shot here. And it ended up working out because my dream has always been to work in games. And it was kind of cool to find out that, Harmonix is local to me and also has made some of the games that shaped my childhood.
Awesome. Well, that's a great segue to your history with games a little bit. Before we go into your general history with games, I would love to know, of the older Rock Band and original Guitar Hero, do you have favorite tracks that you like to play, or at least a favorite instrument you like to play?
So when everyone, like when my parents were around and my brother was around, I would play guitar a lot. But because I'm I still am a little shy. But when I was a lot shyer when I was a kid. When no one was around, I would sing.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
Awesome. Yeah, I don't have a historically phenomenal singing voice, and so I was the same way. Like, I would have trouble singing when I was in large groups with friends, but then when I would be on my own with it, I would use it like a karaoke machine a little bit and just do singing to try it out and stuff. So I can totally relate to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Meanwhile, when Rock Band came out, I was in music school. I was getting a music degree in college, and so Rock Band parties were the weirdest kind of ego trip, round robin. It was fun. I'm glad it's behind me.
I mean, you also are not particularly shy, Geoff. Of the two of us, you are definitely the more outgoing, I feel like. So,
well, that was a long road.
That's fair.
It's funny. When I joined Harmonix, I made a lot of really awesome friends out of my coworkers, and they told me, like, a lot of the people that work at Harmonix also like grew up or went to college and stuff and through those Rock Band parties. So it's like we have a bunch of like super fans, but we also have people that are like very, very good at their jobs in one awesome human being.
That is living the dream. That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, Rock Band permeated the culture in a way. Like, Guitar Hero started it, but Rock Band, I think, really took it to the next level because of the variety of instruments and songs and the insane amount of DLC. Like, I've told Geoff before on a previous rhythm game episode we did, I've spent thousands of dollars on Rock Band between instruments, the different games, DLC. And like I entered and won a Rock Band contest ages ago. A bar called Barcade in New York had a Rock Band contest. I think it was around the time of the second game, or maybe it was the first game. And so me and a bunch of my friends entered the contest. And I've always named my band. I've told this story on the podcast before, but I think you'll appreciate it, Katey. I could never figure out what to name my band. And in the first Guitar Hero, I struggled. I couldn't figure out. And my friend Joe, who's a character, was like, well, why don't you name the band Mega Boobs? That'd be a great name for a band. It sounds super 80s. And I was like, sure, why not? And I did. And then it just stuck. It was ridiculous and it just stuck. And when we entered this competition, we entered as Mega Boobs. And we won because the band we were playing against put like the max difficulty for all their instruments, and so because they wanted to show off, whereas we played it safe, and I think we were on either medium to hard instead of very hard, and we ended up winning. And the resentment and resigning in the host of the tournaments announcing our name, he like let out a heavy sign, went, the winner is Mega Boobs. We were so excited. It was great, and we were so excited, and there were 4 of us, and I'd already owned the game. But I didn't have a second guitar because the standard game came with a drum set, a guitar, and a microphone. And so we like divided up the game. My friend Joe, who didn't have the game at all, took a microphone and the game. One of my other friends took a guitar. Another friend took the drum set, and I took a guitar. And it was a really cool thing about Rock Band and games that have come after Dance Central, and I imagine even Audica, is like there's a communal experience to this because music, I think, permeates in ways that maybe gaming doesn't always translate on its own. Have you found that folks that you know who maybe have trouble getting into gaming have still loved the rhythm games because they have an approachability through pop culture and through music?
I think that's definitely an angle for sure. There are definitely people in our community that really only play rhythm games, and it's really interesting to talk to them and hear like what makes a rhythm game important to them or what makes the rhythm game fun to them. like whether it's the soundtrack or the gameplay mechanics or like both, or a lot of times people have like really strong opinions on the music, but they'll still get the DLC because they just want to play the game and stay competitive.
For sure, yeah. I mean, I remember when Rock Band Beatles came out, I bought it because I was such a diehard Beatles fan, but also like there were different like special editions and stuff, and I ended up buying the George Harrison guitar special edition because George Harrison was my favorite Beatle. And the fact that Harmonix puts that kind of care into their games, either with the peripherals or just with the music, I think is really phenomenal. I imagine you found that the people you work with, we mentioned briefly before, like are really big, must be really big music nerds to want to work on these games and in this part of the industry.
Oh, absolutely. They're huge music nerds. And like, honestly, one of the things that I brought up even during my interview was that I grew up going to shows. Like, I personally don't have a huge like musical background, as in I played music. Like, I grew up playing the violin, but I did that for school, and that was pretty much it. But a lot of my friends are in local bands, and I like starting at like age 13, I was going to shows all the time. So like I've been around it, and it's a huge, gigantic part of my life. So like it's really important to have that perspective when you're working on these games.
Yeah, you bring your experience, you bring your past and passion to these sorts of things, and that one does wonder about like the interviews. It's like, do they check your musical background? It's like, is it like an audition? Do you have to play the piano? It'd be weird, but no, like, yeah, even just being that, there are people who are musicians that, may not necessarily be as tapped into the community as someone who regularly goes to shows and knows what the local music scene is. So that is such an integral part of things. It's fantastic.
Actually, shifting the conversation, as I'm a big music nerd, I used to host a music podcast for ages, and I come to music honestly the same way you do. Like, I love going to live shows. I listen to a huge variety of music. I can play the guitar maybe middlingly, barely, but beyond that, like, I have no instrumental training really. I'm curious, are there bands of yours that you really like some of your favorites that maybe folks who know you or even don't know you might be surprised that you like, or bands, a second part of the question, bands that aren't in any of the Harmonix properties that you'd really love to see at some point put in as DLC?
So a double whammy to that question would be, my favorite band is Foals. They're like an alternative rock, kind of like indie folk. Like they do a lot of weird, awesome things with their music. Band from the UK.
Oh, cool.
They unfortunately have not been in any of our games yet, but I yell and scream for wanting them like very often. So, maybe at some point in the future, but that's all up to licensing and all that kind of stuff. But so there's Foals, sure. And I believe that Anderson .Paak was in Drop Mix or something. Like, might have had some stems in Drop Mix. I didn't work on Drop Mix, but I think I remember seeing a card laying around here or there. But Anderson .Paak is definitely one of my favorite artists.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's what's really interesting to me about the games that Harmonix makes is that they seem to find, and you talked about this a little bit, right? Like finding bands that fit perfectly for, you might not even necessarily think work. Like at PAX East, I got some time with Fuser, like All-Stars in Fuser. And I never in a million years would think about putting All-Star in a DJ game. But honestly, it works really well. And no matter what part of the instrument you pull from it, it works really well. I think it's really phenomenal when you get all of these kind of passionate music nerds together that really know how to figure out and decipher what fits where best. And it really shows in the care of the DLC and the adjustments that you guys make for the game.
Absolutely. And like to the point of All-Star, like any part that you pull out of that song is going to be distinctive in your mix, I feel. Like you're going to be able to hear it. You're going to be able to pick it out of the mix. And I think that it actually was like a perfect addition to the initial 16 songs that we announced.
Yeah, no arguments here. You're absolutely right. It's distinctive. And if you're mixing stuff up, that's really good.
It was a lot of fun, yeah.
My favorite thing at the Harmonix booth at PAX East was just not even playing. Playing was great, but like watching people make mixes, and as a DJ, being blown away by the things people were putting together and going, "Oh my God, why does this work? I can't believe this works." And I love that. I love that about music in general. I mean, that's how I got into a ton of new music back in the day also was through Rock Band. Bands that I might not have never really listened to, but then they have a song on Rock Band that comes with the game, and I'm like, oh, well, I'll try this, and end up becoming a fan of the band's music. Has there been any bands that you've discovered through the games at the company that you would have never heard of before that now you're a fan of?
A lot of times, I mean, definitely, because I listen to pretty much every DLC song for Rock Band, at least, that, comes up ahead of time. So I'm usually like way ahead of schedule in writing my blogs and my social copy. So like more recently there was a band called Black Pumas that we put into Rock Band, and had no idea that they existed beforehand, but when I was listening to the song over and over, just trying to get a feel of what it's about, what it's like, and how fun it would be in Rock Band, it was really interesting to dive into their other stuff. It was a lot of fun to find them. So like I do find new artists every now and again when I'm doing this.
Very cool. And does Harmonix, I imagine it's another balancing act, but in picking new tracks and putting together DLC, is there a stronger push towards familiar songs or like, top hits, or more of like, let's introduce people to new artists, let's spread people's musical palette a little bit?
It's certainly a healthy balance of all of that.
That makes sense. Very cool.
I would love to chat a little bit about your gaming history, Katey. Obviously, you played rhythm games. You grew up on some of the greatest stuff, like the rest of us did. But do you have any other favorite games besides rhythm games? I have to assume you play other things, and maybe some of
I do.
It would be no hate to people who only play rhythm games. Gaming is however you want to engage with it. But let's start with first. What was your first gaming system, and what was the first game you remember getting that like you got really excited about?
Oh, wow. I was actually thinking about this morning. I don't remember if it was the NES or the SNES with Mario Paint. Which one was that?
That was SNES. That was the SNES.
So I think that was my first, because it's like my first memory of any sort of video game of any kind. And then I remember Super Mario 64. So we had a pretty fortunate situation where my parents would buy stations for my brother. So I would be able to play video games with him. So anytime that he wasn't using the SNES or the N64, I would be on it, and he would be teaching me. So like, I think by the time I was like 3 or 4, I was competently using a computer and all of our gaming systems.
Amazing.
That's younger sibling life. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite game of all time that you can that comes to mind immediately?
Well, I mean, my favorite game series of all time is Kingdom Hearts.
Nice. Hell yeah.
I have 13 tattoos, and I think 6 of them are Kingdom Hearts related.
Wow, that's awesome. Very cool. Do you have a favorite?
13 tattoos.
Oh yeah, was that was?
Sorry, Organization 13.
I was like that's too convenient.
That is too convenient, but however, some of them are other things.
Do you have a favorite Kingdom Hearts character?
I do. It's Axel.
That dreamy redheaded boy. How can you not?
He's so bad.
How can you not?
How can you not love him?
But he's so good.
Exactly. No.
He's bad and he's so good.
He's my favorite disaster boy.
Exactly. Yeah, most of my friends hated me when Kingdom Hearts 2 came out because I literally, after every sentence, would be like, got it memorized, and they're like, Matt, enough.
I'm glad we didn't know each other then.
I would have made an enemy out of you quick. So, since you're a diehard Kingdom Hearts fan, I'm curious, what did you think of the third installment? I assume you've played it.
I have played it, and I played the DLC. My roommate Colby and I we played it together.
Oh, cool.
He's also like a diehard Kingdom Hearts fan. We actually I feel like communicate in memes a lot. That's just our relationship.
As all best communication is.
Yeah, and we also just, I don't know, out of nowhere, I'll just pull out like an Axel quote, or he'll come out with like something that Pete said or something. Like, and I don't know. We go back and forth a lot. But I genuinely enjoyed Kingdom Hearts 3 for like, it was a very different game than the first 2 mainline games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It also, like, it was very different for me because I actually hadn't seen all of those Disney movies before I played the game, which I feel like was part of the charm of Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, having seen, like, I was a huge Disney kid growing up, so I was in touch with all of those characters and all of those storylines, so it wasn't, like, hard for me to wrap my head around. But I hadn't even seen Big Hero 6, or I hadn't seen Tangled or anything like that beforehand. I definitely like the best worlds in that game were the Tangled world and Toy Story. And I think like Monsters Inc. was great too, but I can't stop thinking about the first time. One of the few times that I died in my first run through was through to those like giant frog things in Monsters Inc.
Yeah, those guys sucked.
Yeah, they were really, really tough for whatever reason. But I had fun with the game. I think like the best part of the game, in my opinion, was like the latter like 6 hours like end game stuff. But that's just because like what really matters to me in the Kingdom Hearts universe is the actual Kingdom Hearts lore, like with the organization, what's going on with Kairi, Aqua, Terra, all of those people. So
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think that the lore, while confusing sometimes, I think if you can wrap your brain around it, is really cool and really engaging. You know, I'm bummed that they did Kairi dirty in the main story. I hear that there's some redemption in the DLC. I haven't played it yet, but like, you know, killing off ladies. Come on, let's stop at video games. What's the point? We should be playing Kairi. I still fight. Mainline Kairi game. I want it.
Yeah. No, the DLC...
There were so many spin-offs.
There's so many. Well, I mean, they're all not necessarily even spin-offs. So they're all actually, like, very important to the story. Funny enough, so many people have come to me and asked me, like, what games should I play, like, out of all of these if I want to play Kingdom Hearts 3? And I'm like, all of them?
All of them? Yeah. If you're buying it, you have a PS4, which means you can get to the story so far. You've got
exactly.
Oh yeah, no. I played a little bit of Kingdom Hearts when it first came out. I've come into enjoying it only in the last like year or two because playing through 1.5, 2.5 on the PS4, and it has been a trip.
Yeah, it's really funny to recommend that series to adults because while like it really depends on the person, of course, what they're going to enjoy, but I'm like, it's gonna be like at times you're gonna feel like, why am I playing a game for kids? But you're not playing a game for kids because not all kids can just pick this up and go run with it and understand what's happening. So like it's a healthy balance of both, but like I don't know, I feel like it's such a rewarding and wholesome and good story. So like I do recommend it to anybody who hasn't actually dove into the Kingdom Hearts universe yet. But it is like if you do want to fully understand the events of Kingdom Hearts 3, like you really got to play all of them or at least watch playthroughs of them all. Yeah, especially like Birth by Sleep is the prequel to everything, and it introduces Aqua, Terra, and Ventus, and that's super important for Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah, and it was a lot of fun, like doing a full, I guess, binge on it and getting to see all of the weird details they put into it. And you're like, oh, that's why there's X's in their names. All right, who are you? Who are Ian? It's a fun mystery story.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny when, like, people will talk to me about it and, like, I'll try to explain, like, Xehanort and Xemnas and who is who and, like, the two Ansems, and they're just like, nope, I'm done. Like, I'm done hearing about this.
Honestly, it's like once you can get past that, everything else is easier to understand. Like, that's the tricky part.
That really is the trickiest part. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. Understanding the organization is I think the hardest part. Once you get that dynamic down and why people are doing what they're doing, I think it really does blossom in a way that once you're over that hump, you can really get into it. I love the games as well, and I had not played all of the side games before buying 3. I did watch Katey, a YouTuber, actually did an incredible retrospective playing through all of the Kingdom Hearts games leading up to the newest game and then playing that, and in every video he did a lore dump and explained everything. And so the games that I had not played, I was able to get enough information that I understood it. But that said, I don't have the HD remaster 1.5 and 2.5, but I want to get them because I do want to play Birth by Sleep, which I never got to play, and a few of the other games. I think
they're good.
They are. And what I think is really fascinating and what Katey brings up is, like, it does seem very kid friendly, but it's not a kiddie game. And I, as someone who grew up with these games, found the third game really speaking to me in a similar way that, like, watching all of the Toy Story movies, like I recently watched Toy Story 4, like that movie is not for kids now. It can be, but that movie's for me who grew up watching Woody and Buzz and these characters grow and change. And I think Kingdom Hearts does something similar where, like, you're on this adventure with Sora, and Sora's changed and Riku's changed in ways that you've also changed and grown, you know? And I think it's really a fantastic way of telling stories. Though if you have to wait another 15 years for part 4, I'll be very mad.
Yeah, I'll also be kind of upset at that. I would really like to continue playing Kingdom Hearts. The way that they leave it off definitely leaves way for another.
For sure. And I assume we're not getting that till next gen consoles, but yeah, I hope that we get more. So you're clearly an RPG fan, since you're a Kingdom Hearts fan. Are there any games that you've not played yet that you've seen, in especially in modern console generations, that you really want to try that maybe you haven't gotten to yet?
Oh, that's a really good question. I mean, I have tried and played some, or actually like about halfway through Death Stranding, but the issue with that game is that if you put it down, then sometimes you're just like, well, I don't know if I'm going to remember where I am when I come back.
Yeah,
that's fair. Yeah,
but like it's such a fun game, and it's beautiful, and it's a really nice experience. I definitely have to get back into that one. I feel like, I mean, I definitely really need to go back and play God of War for myself. Mm-hmm. I watched some playthroughs of it, but like, again, not every game, like, not, at least for me, not every game is the same when you watch it versus when you play it for yourself.
For sure.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
So that's probably the one that I'll want to go back to.
Nice. And those are a lot of like fantastic narrative-driven games, and which is funny. You work for a company that is, music gaming is at its heart a very arcade kind of experience. Do you have like any favorite kind of either, well, genuine arcade games or more arcade-style games? Do you like those sort of series as well? Oh,
absolutely. I mean, like, inherent, like, when it comes to arcade games in general, like, I love going to arcades and playing those games.
They're so nice.
I grew up playing Tekken 3 and Tekken 5.
Oh, nice.
So I've actually, I also play Tekken 7, but I haven't in a while, and I'll have to jump back into that. But like, when I go to physical arcades, and also just when I'm hanging out at home, like, those are games that I love to play.
I'm just taking a moment because you say you grew up playing Tekken 3 and 5, and I, an old man turning to dust before you who grew up playing Tekken 1 on the PlayStation, I'm just like, that's awesome. Yeah.
I am baby.
That's fine. Gaming is for all ages.
Yeah,
I don't judge.
And I love Tekken. I'm not good at it, but I love Tekken.
But that's awesome. Yeah, I think that it's important. Like, it's very easy for gamers to perceive other folks who play games as like locked into like, well, if you work in this industry, you must only like this one thing. But the reality is, I think there's a lot of bleed over. And Geoff brings up a good point. The arcade experience of a lot of Harmonix games is, I think, what makes them so universal. The fact that you can just pick up and play. Like, I loved the story mode in Rock Band 2 and 3. But at the end of the day, the thing that I kept coming back to was just playing my favorite songs, being able to just jump in really quick and play.
Like, yeah, I'm excited about Audica, but where's the lore?
What is the story of Audica?
I mean, you have to be shooting these beats for a reason, right? I wanted to shift the conversation a little bit and talk about your community management again. What do you think is the most important thing to keeping a growing community going? What kind of communication is really key to developing a community?
Well, at least for me, what's been super rewarding for myself and my communities has been being as transparent as you possibly can be, and like being as communicative with them as you can be, because people really just want to be heard. People really just want to be part of the conversation. And when you have a community manager or community managers that are, actively talking to you and answering your questions as best as possible, that I feel like is super, super duper important. Because otherwise you're kind of just there to answer pertinent questions and then you disappear. Like you want to be part of the conversation no matter what the sentiment is at the time, so that you can properly manage it.
Makes sense.
For sure. Yeah, I think interaction is different now, right? Because like even when you were growing up, even though you're a little bit younger than us, like the internet plays a much different role now in video games than it did before. I mean, everything is connected to the internet to some degree or another, and like especially with the growth of Discord, like community chats, which I mean we had chat rooms in my day on AOL.com.
I had AIM too, so
exactly. But like
yeah, we lived it.
But like I feel like the conversation is so different now, right? Because everything is connected, everybody is connected, and like you can build friendships just through the internet without meeting folks in person. Like I have friends who created these giant friendships through Twitter and then met for the first time many years later at a PAX East or some other convention. And I think that's kind of the shifting dynamic of gaming, right? That we can develop strong, really impressive bonds and friendship just through chatting and through the community of the games we're playing.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And like I grew up constantly online. So like I had AIM starting at a young age for myself, and like I have a lot of friends that I still haven't even met from like, I don't know, even middle school and high school, meeting them online. And also Twitter has been like, at least in recent times, Twitter has been a huge part of me like meeting people in both my like own communities and also like personal things. So like Twitter has been huge in cultivating friendships and all that good stuff.
That's incredible. It's wonderful.
I mean, Twitter is what brought you to our show, and so we're super thankful for that.
That too.
Yeah.
Thank you, Twitter.
Thank you, Twitter, and thank you, Manny. I will thank you again because you are a kind human. Actually, since he introduced us, how did you and Manny meet? Did you meet through the internet?
We did meet through the internet. I'm pretty sure that our first conversation, like we followed each other because we both like I saw a community manager for Bethesda. He saw a community manager for Harmonix. Like it's easy. Like when it comes to like industry people, it's like super easy to just be like, oh, another one. We're gonna follow each other, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Same hat. Same hat.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure I started off the conversation with talking about Death Stranding, because it was I started talking to him around the time that Death Stranding came out.
Nice.
So I was just like, what's your PSN? And we became friends then.
Super cool. Yeah, I love the way that playing games and the best parts of the internet, since there are not good parts, like boost how people interact and bring people together. I mean, we live in a year where Doomguy and Isabel became friends, and so like I feel like anything is possible on the internet. I
love those pictures and those memes. The videos of like Isabel running around with a shotgun and shooting it and getting thrown by the kickback is hilarious.
It's so wholesome.
It's so cute.
It's the best, yeah. And like we got to talk to Manny about it, and he's like, yeah, everyone in the office freaking loves it. Like, and I'm glad. Like it's very easy. Like I remember when I was a kid, like people were so competitive about like who they were loyal to, and I like that now those walls are being broken down. Like Microsoft and Nintendo have been teaming up a bunch and releasing their games on each other's platforms. Well, mostly Microsoft on Nintendo, because no other console's ever going to get a Mario game. But
right.
Like I like that there's kind of an interplay that wasn't before. Cross-platform is a thing that we can actually talk about. It makes me excited for gaming in a way that I don't think we had before. And this steers into one of my final questions is, what are you most excited about in the future of gaming? Are there games that you're really excited about that are coming out? New consoles, new stuff, even from Harmonix? Like, what are you looking forward to? I'm
looking forward to, obviously, like, next-gen consoles and stuff, but I'm really looking forward to what happens with VR. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like we're, like, even though VR is becoming a lot more prevalent, like, more people have headsets in their household because they're becoming more affordable, and they're becoming like just they're in stock, or they at least were in stock at one point in time before this crazy world. But yeah, like we're kind of just in the beginning phase of figuring out what we can do with VR, and like we have kind of been in that beginning phase for a little while, moving slowly along. But I'm so excited to see what happens with like future headsets and future games, because honestly, the biggest thing that's gotten me so excited is watching people play Half-Life Alyx, because I never imagined that a game of that scale and a game like that could ever work properly in VR, and it does.
Yeah, and you know what? It's a proof of concept for all sorts of designs now, and we're gonna go from here.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's like super exciting. Like it was like going from the PS1 to like now having a PS3 or a PS4 and going like, wow, these games look entirely different, but you have like fond memories of playing, you know, like Silent Hill 2 on your PS2 or like, and then you go ahead and play Death Stranding, and those games do not physically look exactly the same. Like they have made some incredible like leaps and bounds in graphics and everything, processing power, and like knowing that that's going to happen again with VR is like super exciting. It's almost like childhood excitement.
Oh, that's a good thing to be excited about. Well, I do have one quick goofy question. We are recording this still in the midst of social isolation. What are you currently playing while being boarded up at home?
Oh, I'm trying to play pretty much anything that my friends are playing, so that I can be constantly on Discord, constantly like on video chat with people, pretending that I'm not stuck at home. But I've been playing, I mean, I should have mentioned this earlier, but I'm also like a huge fan of Rainbow Six Siege.
Oh, nice.
One of my favorite games. And so I've been playing a lot of that, trying to teach friends that are not familiar with the game how to play the game, which has been an interesting experience.
I can imagine, yeah.
So I've been playing that. I just recently re-downloaded both Destiny 2 and Division 2, very different games, but playing both of those as well. Trying to, like, pretty much any multiplayer experience that somebody recommends to me and is like, we'll play a couple of times probably. And I'm like, okay, I'll do it.
Good enough.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think that, I mean, any game can be communal if you find a way to interact together, but I think that going out of your way to play multiplayer games is really important in this time. I'm actually lamenting the other day to a friend that there are no MMO style games or online games that I'm really excited about right now, and it stinks because that was always a key part of my interactions, you know, with friends, but now I feel like it's even more vital as we're socially distancing and trying to beat this thing, that finding a way to connect through games is going to be the most important way for a lot of us to connect.
Absolutely. And like there are a lot of games that I never thought that I would actually like get into that I have gotten into lately, that just because people are like, well, you can play a game with me if you play this game and I'll try it out. So like I just actually got into Diablo 3 for the first time and I love it.
Oh wow, awesome. Yeah, Diablo is fun stuff.
That is one of my favorites.
Yeah, I love that game.
Do you have a favorite class in Diablo?
I am a wizard, and I feel like I always choose spellcasters in anything that it's possible to be a spellcaster in, because I always play them in D&D.
Nice. I see you. That is, yes.
Well, before we wrap up, why don't you give the pitch? Talk about where folks can find you on the internet, some of the games that you're working on, again, if not, even though we've mentioned them a ton, and where folks can find them, what platforms maybe they're on, and then we'll wrap things up. Sure.
So you can find me on Twitter at KFam, but it's spelled differently. It's at K_F4M. Someone has at KFam, I'm sure, and I want to steal it from them. So I'm pretty active on Twitter. You can find me there. But yeah, like if for more information on Fuser, definitely follow our socials at FuserGame on Twitter and Facebook, and also Instagram. And you can go to fuser.com for more information on our website. Audica is on pretty much every major VR headset. So PSVR, Oculus Rift, Oculus Quest, and Vive. So you can find Audica there and pick up DLC. We have some really fun DLC, like we have some Ariana Grande, we have some Lizzo, we have some Post Malone. There's a lot of cool stuff on there. And Dance Central. Dance Central is on the Oculus Rift and the Oculus Quest.
Awesome.
And obviously Rock Band. Rock Band still churns out DLC. We do DLC every Thursday and challenges on Rock Band Rivals.
Good to know.
Awesome. Well, Katey, thank you so much for coming on the show and chatting with us. This was so much fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. And listeners, let us know what you think. Are you big Harmonix fans? What are some of your rhythm game memories? What are some of your favorite tracks? What music experiences do you like? What parts of the music community and gaming community do you like when they intersect? And what things are you excited about in this uncertain future? Because this is a conversation. Thank you for being a part of it. I'm Jeff Moonen.
And I am Matt A.K. Stormageddon.
And happy gaming.
Can you believe we've been friends for 7 years?
And it all started because I compared you to Alana the Lioness.
Tamara Pierce really set the tone of our friendship.
A love of magic,
Briar Moss,
fantasy,
Briar Moss,
powerful women, and of course,
Briar Moss. I'm Anna.
And I'm MJ.
And we invite you to join our Circle of Friendship,
where we do a chapter-by-chapter deep dive into the Circle of Magic series by Tamara Pierce.
We answer important questions like, how does Moonstream let certain dedicates take care of children?
Can you imagine anyone else but Mandy Patinkin playing Nico?
Knives, Briar.
And
knives?
Join us every other Monday at cofpodcast.libsyn.com or wherever you download podcasts.
But seriously, knives?
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.